Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Is it 7th week, ma?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Can
Let me once check.
start with a pranam mantra.
Okay. Om Anyanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaya Kadamayyam Dadanti Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasatarishtarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yes, Mataji, it is the 7th week only.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Mataji, this time no one is prepared with the PPT actually because I haven't divided the work uh, because I thought at least people should get 1 week, no, to think if they want to be the part of making the presentation. So I just sent a message on the group, and then Sai Gitika Mataji told me to add her in the group as well. So I added her
Okay.
and waiting for the others to join.
Okay. Oh,
Hare
you
Krishna
have
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, how was your son's exams first? English?
I did well. English paper 1, paper 2, and I think history, civics. Monday,
Now he's having his exam on 5 now. Is of mathematics.
mathematics is on 2nd.
Okay.
ICSE board.
Oh.
Achaita said she will not be able to join today. She has some meeting or function to attend.
Yeah, she has some reception of the relative.
Yeah, that's what she told me. It's okay. We'll continue with the same. So how was the weekend for you people last weekend? Busy, no? I think after the Tekadashi.
No,
Very
Mataji,
busy.
actually, I was completely busy because, ISKCON Bangalore, right, Mataji, they're, hosting summer camp, ISKCON Samskriti. So that one, I have enrolled for Mataji. That's why I'm not even getting time, Mataji, from morning 9 till
But
evening.
I am unhappy with your performance in last Ekadashi.
No, Mataji, actually what happened was on the day Vaishnavi Mataji asked me for the chapter, I said 11, but the next day I said 14, Mataji. So Vaishnavi Mataji forgot to make it. So I have prepared for the 14th one. That's why at last moment I had to again prepare for the 11th one.
You would have told us beforehand, no?
No, Mataji, actually I was busy,
Yeah,
Mataji.
actually, she told me in the class about the change of the chapter, but I totally forgot about that and gave somebody else this chapter in
Okay.
continuation, I guess. So she had to do it in the last moment.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Hota hai. Kabhi kabhi. But I was like, what happened? So much of unpreparedness and all those things.
I was still preparing just before the recitation. I was still preparing, Mataji. It was actually lengthy one, so I had to prepare it.
Yeah, which one we have to do it today? 7th?
Seventh one, I guess. So.
Yeah, Mataji, 7th one.
Okay.
Isn't it the 5th one, Mataji?
I don't know.
Right now I checked the video. It was NOD4 last week.
NOD 4, huh? Okay.
Yeah. So we have to do NOD5 now.
Okay. Inclined is emergence. Yeah, this I think we didn't do it. Okay. Yeah, somebody please start.
Yes, Mataji. The purity of devotional service, chapter 5. All of the previous instructions imparted by Srila Rupa Goswami in his broad statements can be summarized thus: as long as one is materially inclined or desirous of merging into the spiritual effulgence, one cannot enter into the realm of pure devotional service. Next, Rupa Goswami stated that devotional service is transcendental to all material considerations and that it is not limited to any particular country, class, society, or circumstance. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, devotional service is transcendental and has no cost. Devotional service is executed without any hope for gain and it cannot be checked by any material circumstances. It is open for all without any distinction, and it is the constitutional occupation of the living entities. In the Middle Age, after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya's great associate, Lord Nityananda, a class of priestly persons claimed to be the descendants of Nityananda, calling themselves the Goswami caste. They further claimed that the practice and spreading of devotional service belonged only to their particular class, which was known as Nityananda Vamsa. In this way, they exercised their artificial powers for some time until Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura, the powerful Acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, completely smashed their ideas. There was a great hard struggle for some time, but it has turned out successfully. And it is now correctly and practically established that devotional service is not restricted to a particular class of men. Besides that, anyone who is engaged in devotional service is already at the status of being a high class Brahmana. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura's struggle for this movement has come out successfully. It is on the basis of his position that anyone can now become a Gaudiya Vaishnava from any part of the world or any part of the universe. Anyone who is a pure Vaishnava is situated transcendently and therefore the highest qualification in the material world, namely, to be in the mode of goodness, has already been achieved by such a person. Our Krishna consciousness movement in the Western world is based on the above mentioned proposition of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, our spiritual master. On his authority, we are claiming members from all sections of the Western countries. The so-called Brahmanas claim that one who is not born into a Brahmana family cannot receive the sacred thread and cannot become a high-grade Vaishnava. But we do not accept such a theory because it is not supported by Rupa Goswami or by the strength of various scriptures. Srila Rupa Goswami specially mentioned herein that every man has the birthright to accept devotional service or to become Krishna conscious. He has given many evidences from many scriptures and he has especially quoted one passage from Padma Purana wherein the sage Vashishta tells King Dilipa, "My dear king, everyone has the right to execute devotional service just as he has the right to take early baths in the month of Magh, December, January. There is more evidence in the Skanda Purana in Kashikhanda portion where it is said in the country known as Mayura Dwaja, the lower caste people who are considered less than Shudras are also initiated in the Vaishnava cult of devotional service. And when they are properly dressed with tilaka on their bodies and beads in their hands and on their necks, they appear to be coming from Vaikuntha. In fact, they look so very beautiful that immediately they surpass the ordinary Brahmanas. Thus, a Vaishnava automatically becomes a Brahmana. This idea is also supported by Sanatana Goswami in his book Hari Bhakti Vilasa, which is the Vaishnava guide. Therein, he has clearly stated that any person who is properly initiated into the Vaishnava cult certainly becomes a Brahmana. As much as the metal known as Kamsa, bell metal, is turned into gold by the mixture of mercury. A bona fide spiritual master under the guidance of the authorities can turn anyone to the Vaishnava cult so that naturally he may come to the topmost position of the Brahmana. Srila Rupa Goswami warns, however, that if a person is properly initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, he should not think that simply by the acceptance of such initiation his business is then finished. One still has to follow the rules and regulations very carefully. If after accepting the spiritual master and being initiated, one does not follow the rules and regulations of devotional service, then he again falls. Then he is again fallen. One must be very vigilant to remember that he is the part and parcel of the transcendental body of Krishna, and that it is his duty as a part and parcel to give service to the whole or Krishna. If we do not render service to Krishna, then again we fall down. In other words, simply becoming initiated does not elevate one to the position of a high class Brahmana. One also has to discharge the duties and follow the regulative principles very rigidly. Sri Rupa Goswami also says that if one is regularly discharging devotional service, there will be no question of a fall down. But even if circumstantially there is some fall down, the Vaishnava need have nothing to do with the prayaschitta, the ritualistic ceremony for purification. If someone falls down from the principles of devotional service, he need not take the prayaschitta performance for reformation. He simply has to execute the rules and regulations for discharging devotional service, and this is sufficient for his reinstatement. This is the mystery of Vaishnava devotional cult.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, please wait. So here, what are the let's say the purity of devotion service is the chapter topic, and initially, can you explain or shall I do it?
Mataji, you do it.
Yeah. So after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya, the people, what do you say, the devotees from the Nityananda clan are called as the Goswami, a separate caste like, and they have been the traditional follower of all these Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara. And only until the Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Saraswati Thakur intervened and he said it's nothing like that. And he has cited certain examples from Padma Purana. And he said, yes, anybody in the world can become a Vaishnava. So when he has made that minute changes, so it becomes easy now that we are seeing so many people from the Western population also are a great Vaishnavas. So the so-called Brahmanas, what we say in an Indian culture, so they need not be born in a Brahmana family. So definitely they are not the eligible people. Like anybody who wanted to be a Vaishnava can get initiation and can receive the sacred thread and become a high grade Vaishnava. So that's what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura has made a modification which is acceptable for all. And yeah, and it is also been supported by Sanatana Goswami. Some other were not supporting and some people are supporting. Then Sanatana Goswami is the one who is supporting that. And it is written in the book, Hari Bhakti Vinasa. It's very nice book, you can go through. It's all about how to, it's all a devotional attire and devotional service, everything about it. And it's a Vaishnava guide where exactly a person who is initiated into Vaishnava cult becomes a Brahmana, as much as the metal known as a Kamsa metal well is turned into gold by the mixture of a mercury. So, and what are his rules and regulations after being initiated? So, simply getting initiation is not the one. He has to lead a life of a Brahmana and he has to serve the purpose. So, after taking initiation under a bona fide spiritual master, he has to follow all the rules and regulations of devotion service, and he should be very, very vigilant to remember that he's a part and parcel of the transcendental body of Krishna, and as a part of his duty, so he should give the service to the Krishna and a whole. Okay, and so some people think after becoming initiated, one, yes, now he's on a platform it can be compared to you're graduating from engineering college or medical school or from art college or whatever it is. You're graduating. That means you got a degree. Doesn't mean that you got an experience. Similarly, once you're initiated, you are graduating from you're graduating or you have taken a course or shelter of a spiritual master. It doesn't mean that you are the perfect in that. Again, you have to do it a practical way by discharging the duties and follow the regulated principles very strictly. See, before that, you are not qualified. You were doing on your own. But once you are qualified, you should do it more in a rigid way because now you got a degree in your hand, isn't it? So it is being compared to that. And while discharging your duties, certain pitfalls will be there, like man-made errors, how you'll have for the machines and all those things. Certainly, a person also some amount of a pitfall will be there, and that has to be ignored because eventually Krishna will correct that. So don't try to waste your time and on changing that. Okay, rather you just try to continue doing your service so that eventually you will become engaged in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Next, somebody can continue. Rohit.
Yeah, Mataji. Practically, there are three processes of elevating one to the platform of spiritual consciousness. These processes are called karma, jnana, and bhakti. Ritualistic performances are in the field of karma. Speculative processes are in the field of jnana. And one who has taken to bhakti, the devotional service of the Lord, need have nothing to do with karma or jnana. It has been already explained that pure devotional service is without any tinge of karma and jnana. Bhakti should have no tinge of philosophical speculation or ritualistic performances. In this connection, Srila Rupa Goswami gives evidence from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 21st chapter, verse 2, in which Lord Krishna says to Uddhav, the distinction between qualification and disqualification may be made in this way. Persons who are already elevating and discharging devotional service will never again take shelter of the process of the fruitive activity or philosophical speculation. If one sticks to devotional service and is conducted by regulator principles given by the authorities and acharyas, this is the best qualification. This statement is supported in Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 5th chapter, verse 17, wherein Sri Narada Muni advises Vyasadeva thus, even if one does not execute his speculation, occupational duty, but immediately takes direct shelter of the lotus feet of Hari Krishna, there will be no fault on his part, and in all circumstances his position is secure. Even if by some bad association he fails down by executing devotional service, or if he doesn't finish the complete course of devotional service and dies ultimately, still he is not a loose. A person who is simply discharging his occupational duty in Varna and A Sharma, however, with no Krishna consciousness, practically does not gain the true benefit of human life. The purport is that all conditioned soul who are engaged very frantically in activities for sense gratification without knowing that his process will never him get out of the material contamination are awarded with a repeated birth and death. In the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is clearly stated by Rishabdeva, his sons, peoples engaged in fruitive activities are repeatedly accepting birth and death, and until they develop a lovely feeling of for Vasudeva, there will be no question of getting out from these strange law of material nature. As much any person who is very serious engaged in his occupational duties in the Varnas and Asarmas, and who does not develop love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, should be understood to be simply spoiling his human life of human form of life. This is confirmed also in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th chapter, verse 32, in which the Lord says to Uddhav, my dear Uddhav, any person who takes shelter of me in complete surrenders and follows my instructions, giving up all occupational duties, is to be considered the first class man. In this statement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is understood that first people are generally attracted to the philanthropic, ethical, moral, altruistic, political, and social welfare activities may be considered nice men only in the calculation of the material world. From Srimad Bhagavatam and other authentic Vedic scriptures, we learn further that if a person simply acts in Krishna consciousness and discharge devotional service, he is considered to be far, far better situated than all of these people engaged in philanthropic, ethical, moral, altruistic, and social welfare activities. The same thing is still more emphatically confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 1st chapter, verse 41, in which Kara Bhajana Muni addressed Maharaja Nimi as follow: my dear king, if someone gives you up his occupational duties as they are prescribed for different varnas and ashrams, but takes complete shelter, surrendering himself unto the lotus feet of the Lord, such a person is no more a debtor, no more, and nor he has any obligation to perform the different kind of activities we render to the great sages and justers living in deities and family and society members. Nor he has any kind need of bother executing the five kinds of yajna sacrifices for becoming free from sinful contamination. Simplified by discharging devotional service is free from all kind of obligations. The purpose is that as soon as a man takes his birth, he is immediately indebted to so many sources. He is indebted to the great sages because he profits by reading their authoritative scriptures and books. For example, if we take advantage of the books written by Ves Vyasdeva, so Vyasdeva has left for us all the Vedas. Before Vyasdeva writing the Vedic literature was simply heard, and the disciples would learn the mantra quickly by hearing and not by reading. Later on, Vyasdeva thought it wise to write down the Vedas because in this age people are short memoried, and, unable to remember all the instructions given by the spiritual master. So therefore, he left all the Vedic knowledge in a form of books such as Puran, Vedanta, Mahabharata, and Srimad Bhagavatam. There are many other sages like Shankacharya, Gautami Muni, Narada Muni, to whom we are indebted because we take advantage of their knowledge. Similarly, we are obliged to our forefathers because we take our birth in a particular family where we take all advantage and inherit property. Therefore, we are indebted to a forefather and have to offer them pind, prasada, and after they are dead. Similarly to the people in journal, we are also indebted as well to our relatives, friends, and even animals such as cows and dogs who render us so much service. In this way, we are indebted to the demigods, to the forefathers, to the sages, to animals, and the society in general. It is our duty to repay them all by power discharge of service. But why? The one stroke of devotional service, if one gives up all the obligation and simply surrenders up to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is no longer a debtor nor obliged to any other sources of benefit. In Bhagavad Gita, also the Lord says, give up all the occupations and just become surrender unto me. I give you assurance that I shall give protection from all sinful reaction. One may think that because he is surrendering up to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he will not be able to perform all of his other obligation. But the Lord said repeatedly, don't hesitate, don't consider that before you are giving up all other engagements, there will be some flaws in your life. Don't think like that. I'll give you all protection. This is the assurance of Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. There is additional evidence in the Augustus Samhita as the regulative principles of scriptures are not required by the liberated man. So the ritualistic principles indicated in the Vedic supplements are also not required for a person duly engaged in the service of Lord Ramchandra. In other words, the devotees of Ramchandra or Krishna are already liberated person and are not required to follow all the regulative principles mentioned in the ritualistic portions of the Vedic literature. Similarly, in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th chapter, verse 42, Karambhajana Muni addressed King Nimi and said, my dear king, a person who has given up of the worship of the demigods and have completely concentrated his energy in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has become very dear to the Lord. As such, if by chance or mistake if he does something that is forbidden, there is no need for him to perform any purificatory ceremonies because the Lord is situated within his heart. He takes compassion for the devotee's accidental mistake and corrects him from within. It is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. In many places, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna takes a special interest in his devotees and declares emphatically that nothing can cause his devotees to fall down. He is always protecting them. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So three types of devotion service practices or the spiritual consciousness. The process is Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. As you all know, Bhakti Yoga is the highest of all. Karma is the activity. Jnana is the knowledge about the scriptures. Okay. And what is the Srila Rupa Goswami saying from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 21st chapter, verse 2, that Krishna says, Uddhava, that Krishna is explaining to Uddhava, the distinction between the qualification and disqualification may be made in this way. Persons who are already elevated in discharging devotion service will never come back to the shelter of routine, that they don't fall into the trap of a karma activity, isn't it? Because they are already elevated. So a devotee who is elevated and who sticks to the devotion service by regularly performing the regulative principles given by authorities and the acharya is the best qualification. Again, another statement of Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 5th chapter, verse 17, where Sri Narad Muni advises Vyasadeva that if one does not execute his specific occupational duty, but immediately takes direct shelter of the lotus feet of the Hari, that is Lord Krishna. So that is also no fault on his part, and his position is secure in all circumstances. So if by chance, if such person comes in contact with a bad association, and as he falls down while executing the devotion service, or he don't finish the task which is assigned to him, that following the regulative principles, doing the bhakti and all those things, and he dies ultimately, so still there is a no loss. Some amount of good karma is accounted on his part. So, and these sort of a persons, again, they will come back to complete the cycle, and yeah, they again come back by repeated birth and death, and they complete the cycle. So another example from 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, stated by Rishabhadeva to his son, person engaged in fruitive activities are repeatedly accepting the birth and death, and unless and until they have the loving feeling for the Vasudeva, there will be no way these people will get out from the stringent law of a material nature. Okay, so whatever varna you are belong to, whatever ashrama you are there, simply you have to surrender onto the lotus feet and discharge the service. So it is also confirmed in 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th chapter, verse 32, Again, in this, Lord Krishna is saying to Uddhava, my dear Uddhava, any person who take shelter of me in complete surrender and follow my instruction, give up all occupational duties, he is considered to be the first class devotee. So, when you see in the general public, people are attracted to the philanthropic, ethical, moral, political, and social welfare activity. He is a nice man or a woman in terms of material world. But as per the spiritual world, a person who is learned in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and other authentic Vedic scripture is said to be far more better situated than the person who is more knowledgeable in the material activities. So the same thing is still more empathetically confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto 5th chapter verse 41, in which Karavajana Muni addresses the Maharaja Nimi as follows: my dear king, if someone give up his occupation duties as prescribed for the different varnas and ashramas, but take complete surrender, shelter of Lord Krishna. So, what do you say? He need not bother anything by to become free from all the sinful reaction, because simply by discharging the devotion service, he is free from all kind of obligations. So later on, the same thing is been written by Vyasadeva. He has written down in Vedas, because in Kali Yuga, most of the people are short memory and they are not able to remember all the instructions which is given by the spiritual master. So he has left all the Vedic knowledge in the form of books such as Puranas, Vedanta, Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam. So apart from that, many other sages like Shankaracharya, Gautam Muni, and Narad Muni, they feel indebted to all those sages, sage who has now that they have laid down the principles and guidelines for our reference and for our daily activities. So we are just taking advantage of their knowledge by reading and implementing it in our daily life. So we are obliged to our forefathers that because of birth in a particular family, we take all advantage and inherit property. So similarly, we are being born as a human, we are indebted to our forefathers, Vyasadeva and all, who has write down various scriptures and which has offered us in regulating our daily life, and which is helpful to read and develop in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So in this way, we are indebted to all the demigods, our forefathers, the sages, and in general, all the nature which is there. And yes, we have to repay them by a proper discharge of a devotional service. So even if we have any obligations, we just have to surrender onto the lotus feet of the Lord. So he's no longer a debtor or nor obliged to any source of the benefit. So in Bhagavad Gita also, Lord will say, give up all your occupation, just surrender unto me. I give you assurance that I shall give you the protection from all the sinful reaction. So yes, you may have certain doubt like how it is possible in day life. Whatever the activity, the day-to-day activity, occupation activities which are there, you have to do it, but you have to do it as if you are employed under Lord. Got my point? So likewise, you will be free from all the material contamination. So again, there is an additional evidence from Agastya Samhita, as the regulated principles of scriptures are not required by liberated person. So the ritualistic person indicated in Vedic supplement are also not required for the person duly engaged in service of Lord Sri Ramchandra. Okay. Same thing, 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th chapter, 42 verse. Again, the Karabhajana Muni addresses King Muni and say, a person who has given up the devotion service of demigods and concentrating his energy in the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very, very dear to the Lord. Such person, out of technical errors, I can say, by chance or by mistake, if he does something which is forbidden, so there is no need for him to perform any purification ceremonies because the Lord is situated within his heart and he'll take care of everything. he try to correct the accidental mistakes which is being performed by him and corrects him from within. So it is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita in many places. The Supreme Personality of the Godhead Krishna takes special interest in his devotees, and he declares empathetically that nothing can change his devotee to fall down. He is always protected by him. So sometimes, like say, suppose the immunity system is low, you may succumb to disease. Accidentally, it happens. But immune system is like Krishna, it always try to protect you from all the diseases. And all. Similarly, Krishna is also always watchful, and he always try to protect you from all the from falling down into the material world. Okay, hope it is clear. It's very nice, no? Yes. Shall we continue reading this also?
Yes, Mataji, because it's only 8:30, 8:40, I guess.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I think Sai Gitika, you can start reading, ma.
Yes, Mataji. Rupa Goswami states that his elder brother, Sanatana Goswami, has compiled Haribhakta Vilasa for the guidance of the Vaishnavas, and therein has mentioned many rules and regulations to be followed by the Vaishnavas. Some of them are very important and prominent, and Srila Rupa Goswami will now mention these very important items for our benefit. The purport of this statement is not that Srila Rupa Goswami proposes to mention only the basic principles, not details. For example, a basic principle is that one has to accept a spiritual master exactly how one follows the instructions of a spiritual master is considered a detail. For example, if one is following the instructions of his spiritual master and the instruction is different from the instructions of another spiritual master, this is called detailed information. But the basic principle of acceptance of a spiritual master is good everywhere, although the details may be different. Srila Rupa Goswami does not wish to enter into details here, but he wants to place before us only the principles. He mentions the basic principles as follows. First one, accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of the bona fide spiritual master. Second, becoming initiated by the spiritual master and learning how to discharge devotional service from him. Third, obeying the orders of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. Fourth, following in the footsteps of great acharyas, teachers under the direction of the spiritual master. Fifth, inquiring from the spiritual master how to advance in Krishna consciousness. Sixth, being prepared to give up anything material for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. This means that when we are engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, we must be prepared to give up something that we may not like to give up. And also we have to accept that something that we may not like to accept. Seventh one, residing in a sacred place of pilgrimage like Dwaraka or Vrindavana. Eighth, accepting only what is necessary or dealing with the material world only as far as necessary. Ninth, observing the fasting day on Ekadashi. 10th, worshipping sacred trees like banyan tree. These 10 items are preliminary necessities for beginning the discharge of devotional service in regulative principles. In the beginning, if a neophyte devotee observes the above mentioned 10 principles, surely he will quickly make good advancement in Krishna consciousness. The next set of instructions is listed as follows. One should rigidly give up the company of non-devotees. Second, one should not instruct a person who is not desirous of accepting devotional service. Third, one should not be very enthusiastic about constructing costly temples or monasteries. Fourth, one should not try to read too many books, nor one should develop the idea of earning his livelihood by lecturing on professionally reciting Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. Fifth, one should not be neglectful in ordinary dealings. Sixth, one should not be under the spell of lamination in loss of jubilation in gain. Seventh, one should not disrespect the demigods. 8th, one should not give unnecessary trouble to any living entities. 9th, one should carefully avoid the various offenses in chanting the holy name of the Lord or in worshipping the deity in the temple. 10th, one should be very intolerant towards the blasphemy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, of his or his devotees. Without following the above mentioned 10 principles, one cannot properly elevate himself to the platform of sadhana bhakti or devotional service in practice. Although altogether, Srila Rupa Goswami mentions 20 times, and all of them are very important. Out of 20, the first three, namely accepting the shelter of the bona fide spiritual master, taking initiating from him, and taking initiation from him, and serving him with the respect and reverence, are the most important. Next important items are as follow. First one should decorate the body with tilaka, which is the sign of Vaishnavas. The idea is that as soon as a person sees these marks on the body of Vaishnava, he will immediately remember of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya said that in Vaishnava is he who, when seen, reminds one of Krishna. Therefore, it is essential that a Vaishnava mark his body tilaka to remind others of Krishna. Second, in marking such tilaka, sometimes one may write Hare Krishna on the body. One should accept flowers and garlands that have been offered to the deity and the spiritual master and put them on one's body. Fourth, one should learn to dance before the deity. Fifth, one should learn to bow down immediately upon seeing the deity or spiritual master. Sixth, as soon as one visits a temple of Lord Krishna, one must stand up. Seventh, when the deity is being born for a stroll in the street, a devotee should immediately follow the procession. In the connection, it may be noted that in India, especially in Vishnu temples, the system is that apart from the big deity who is permanently situated in the main area of the temple, there is set small deities that are taken in procession in the evening. In some temples, it is custom to hold a big procession in the evening with a band playing and a nice umbrella over the deities, who sit on the decorated thrones on the cart or palanquin, which is carried by devotees. The deities come out onto the street and travel in the neighborhood, while the other people of neighborhood come out to offer prasada. The residents of the neighborhood all follow the processions, so it is very nice scene. When the deity is coming out, the servitors in the temple put forward the daily accounts before them, so much the collection, so much was the expenditure. The whole idea is that the deity is considered to be a proprietor on the whole establishment, and all the priests and other people taking care of the temples are considered to be the servants of the deity. This system is very, very old and is still followed. So therefore, it is mentioned here that when he it's mentioned that, Mataji, can you scroll up? Yeah. It's mentioned that when the deity is on stroll, the people should follow behind. 8. A devotee must visit a Vishnu temple at least once or twice every day, morning and evening. In Vrindavan, this system is followed very strictly. All the devotees in the town go morning and evening to visit different temples. Therefore, during these times, there are considerable crowds all over the city. There are about 5,000 temples in Vrindavana city. Of course, it is not possible to visit all these temples, but there are at least a dozen very big and important temples which were started by the Goswamis and should be visited. 9th, One must circumambulate the temple buildings at least three times. In every temple, there is an arrangement to go around the temple at least 3 times. Some devotees go around more than 3 times, 10 times, 15 times, according to their vows. The Goswamis used to circumambulate Govardhana Hill. One should also circumambulate the whole Vrindavan area. 10th, one must offer the deity in the temple according to the regulative principles, offering arti and prasad, decorating the deity, etc. These things must be observed regularly. 11th, one must render personal service to the deities. 12th, one must sing. 13th, one must perform sankirtana. 14th, one must chant. 15th, one must offer prayers. 16th, one must recite notable prayers. 17th, one must taste Mahaprasada food from the very plate offered before the deities. 18th, one must drink charamrita water from the bathing of the deities, which is offered to guests. 19th, one must smell the incense and flowers offered to the deity. One must touch the lotus feet of the deity. 21. One must see the deity in great devotion. One must offer arti aratrika at different times. 23rd. One must hear about the Lord and his pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and similar books. 24th. One must pray to the deity for his mercy. 25th. One should remember the deity. 26th. One should meditate upon the deity. 27th. One should render some voluntary service. 28th. One should think of the Lord as one's friend. 29th. One should offer everything to the Lord. 30th. One should offer a favorite article such as food or garment. 31st. One should take all kinds of risk and perform all endeavors for Krishna's benefit. 32. In every condition, one should be surrendered soul. 33rd. One should pour water on the tulsi tree. 34th. One should regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam and similar literature. 35th. One should live in a sacred place like Mathura, Vrindavan, or Dwaraka. 36th. One should offer services to Vaishnavas devotees. 37th. One should arrange one's devotional service according to one's means. 38th. In the month of Kartika, October, and November, one should make arrangements for special services. 39th. During Janmashtami, the times of Krishna appearance in the world, one should observe a special service. 40th. One should do whatever is done with great care and devotion for the deity. 41. One should relish the pleasure of Bhagavatam reading among devotees and not among outsiders. 42. One should associate with devotees who are considered more advanced. 43rd. One should chant the holy name of Lord. 44th. One should live in the jurisdiction of Mathura. Now the total regulative principles come to aggregate of 64 items. As we have mentioned, the first are the primary 10 regulative principles. Then come the secondary 10 regulative principles, and added to these are 44 other activities. So altogether there are 64 items for discharging the regulative practice of devotional service. Out of these 64 items, 5 items, namely worshipping the deity, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, associating among the devotees, Sankirtana, and living in Mathura are very important. The 64 items of devotional service should be included all of our activities of body, mind, and speech, as stated in the beginning of the regulative principles of devotional service, enjoins that all of our senses must be employed in the service of the Lord. Exactly how they can be thus employed is described in the above 64 items. Now, Srila Rupa Goswami will give evidence from scriptures supporting the authenticity of many of these points. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You have completed the whole chapter. Yeah. So after in the previous chapter, we has discussed about the Goswamis, who are the Goswamis, and after Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Swami Saraswati Thakura has laid down certain modifications, who all can be the Vaishnavas, what is the true Vaishnava, who can receive the Brahmanical thread, and who can follow the rules and regulations we have discussed. And after that, we have discussed about our great sages who have laid on various scriptures for our reference and all. So we are indebted to all the sages, demigods, and ultimately Lord Krishna, who has given us the opportunity. So we should always give up occupational duties, and we should surrender onto the lotus feet. And even if we are employed in certain positions and all, we should always work as if we have been employed by the Lord. So if we are having that mood and attitude towards the service of the Lord, automatically He will take care of you. So even if you fall down once a while, He will take care, because He's residing within. He will try to correct you and take you further in this devotion service. So with that small introduction, now I think hmm, how to discharge the devotion service. So this again, um, as we have discussed about the Hari Bhakti Vilasa, this is the Vaishnava guide actually, where exactly all the rules and regulations are written down, which has to be followed by the Vaishnava. And here some important things have been discussed. Okay, basic principles. First of all, they have discussed the basic things is that what do you say? Accepting the shelter of a lotus feet of the bona fide spiritual master. That is, first you are accepting the guru, then becoming initiated by spiritual master, and how to discharge a devotion service from him, obeying all the orders which is given by him with the faith and devotion, following the footsteps of the greater acharya and the direction of spiritual master, and inquiring from spiritual master how to advance in the Krishna consciousness. And yeah, and being prepared to give up anything material for the satisfaction of the supreme personality of the Godhead, Sri Krishna. Okay, you're taking a shelter of a master, you're becoming initiator under him for discharging the duties, you're obeying his orders, you're following the footsteps of greater acharya, because this is going in a disciplinic succession, and you're inquiring to the spiritual master how to advance in Krishna consciousness, and you're giving up material things for the satisfaction of the Lord Krishna. Then residing in a sacred place, pilgrimage like Dwaraka and Vrindavan, accepting only what is necessary and dealing with the material only as far as is necessary, but not indulging totally, and observing the fasting on the day of Ekadashi, 11th day of the lunar calendar, and worshipping the sacred trees like a banyan tree. So these are the 10 preliminary necessities for beginning of discharge of devotion service in regulative principles. So in the very beginning, the neophyte devotee observes the above 10 principles. Surely he will make a good advancement in a Krishna consciousness. Next comes the set of instructions which are given below. Again, 10 instruction. So of which, so once he is initiated, once he is taking under the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, is giving up unnecessary things which is not required for sacrificing for Krishna, and at the same time he is following everything. So now he has attained a certain platform. So to progress further in the bhakti, what all he need to do? So he should rigidly, that means forcefully, he has to give up the company of a non-devotees, because these people are always engaged in the material life, and one should not instruct a person who is not accepting devotion service. People who are not interested in devotion service should never disturb them, and one should not be very enthusiastic about constructing the costly temples or monasteries. You know, rather conserve your energies in doing the bhakti. So you should be desirous, but you should not constantly run behind that. Okay, and one should not try to read too many books also. And the idea of earning the livelihood by reciting, professionally reciting Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita is strictly forbidden. And at the same time, they should not be negligent in their ordinary dealings with all the relationships in day-to-day affair. And they should not be under spell of lamentation or loss or jubilation. They should be equipoised in both the happiness as well as the distressful situation. So, and they should not disrespect the demigods, because demigods are also raised Vaishnavas. So we should always have a respect towards them. And one should not give unnecessary trouble to any living entity. See, as we have discussed in our Bhagavad Gita, especially 10th chapter, where Lord is present in all the living and non-living thing. So if you are giving trouble to any of the living or non-living entity, that means indirectly we are troubling Lord. So which is not again the quality of a devotee. So, and one should carefully avoid the various offenses like chanting the holy name of the Lord, uh, offenses in chanting the holy name of the Lord or worshipping the deity in the temple. So there should not be negligence when we are chanting or worshipping the deity. So one should be very, what do you say, intolerant towards a blasphemy. That is, you're not having a, people will speak, where is your idol and all those things and all. So all those things you should never be, you should not tolerate that. So apart from the above mentioned 10 principles, so one cannot properly elevate himself to the platform of sadhana bhakti or devotion service in practice. So Srila Rupa Goswami mentioned 20 items. All of them are very, very important. So of which first is the taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. So after taking initiation from him, serving him with respect and reverence, which are the most important. So then the next 20 are been described here. 20. Yeah. So first one is maintaining the Vaishnava attire, that is the tilak, and it signifies that you are a Vaishnava and you should accept the flowers and garlands which have been offered to deity and spiritual master, and you can put them on your own body and learn to dance before the deity, that is chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Bow down before the deity or spiritual master when you see them. As soon as one visits the temple of Krishna, you should stand up, and when the deity has been strolled Nagar Sankirtan, so in the street, you should devotee should immediately follow the procession, okay, and take the prasada which is offered, and he should visit the Vishnu temple at least once or twice a day. This has been followed in Vrindavan, we see, and if possible, wherever you are located, try to visit the temple and circumambulate the temple at least 3 times, because in this, I think in Bhagavad Gita level 1, we have learned by doing so, we all our senses have been purified. And one, if possible, try to do some personal service to the deities. One must sing and perform the Sankirtana, one must chant, one must offer prayers, one must recite notable prayers, one must take the Mahaprasada, the food which has been offered to deity, and one must drink Charanamrita, that is the Abhisheka water, what we do to the Lord and offer to the guest. So one must smell the incense and flowers offered to the deity, one must touch the lotus feet of the deity, one must see the deity with a greater devotion and offer the arti at different times, and about and also hear about the pastimes of Lord written in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita and similar book, and we should always pray to the deity for his mercy and remember the deity. One should meditate upon the deity and should render some voluntary service. Okay. If you go to the temple, there are different voluntary service like flower garland making, helping in the kitchen, and offering prasadam to all the devotees. So such things is, there are certain voluntary activities, book distribution, all these things you can do. So one should think of Lord as a friend and should offer everything to him. One should offer a favorite article, a food or a garment, and should take all of risk and perform all endeavors to the Krishna's benefit. So, and one should pour water on the Tulsi tree, Tulsi Aarti morning and evening. One should regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam, similar literature. One should live in a preferably sacred place like Mathura, Vrindavan, and Dwarka, and should offer service to the other Vaishnavas and offer services to the devotion service according to one's capacity. And in the month of Kartika and Damodara Masa, should make a special arrangement for services. And during Janmashtami, should observe special services. These are the ways that various way how you can engage in a devotional service. So whatever you're doing, you should be done with a great care and devotion for the deity, and one should release the pleasure of Bhagavatam reading among the devotees and not among the outsiders. So only devotees can understand the pleasure of Bhagavatam. So one should associate with the devotees who are considered more advanced. We should always try to associate at least of a same platform and more advanced than that, not less than us. And one should live in the jurisdiction of the devotee community, preferably. So these are the total regulative principles comes to aggregate of 64 items, and the 10 are the primary regulative principles. Then come the 10 are the secondary regulative principles. That is, primary regulative principles is accepting the bona fide spiritual master, initiating and working under his care and all. The next 10 regulative principle is avoiding of a non-devotees and all those things. And next is the other 44 activities, like how best you can engage yourself and all your senses in serving the Lord. So this all together comes to the 64 items for discharging the regulatory principles of the devotion service. Out of the 64, again, 5, namely the worshipping the deity, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, associating among the devotees, the Sankirtana movement, and living in the devotee community are very, very important. So these 64 items of devotion service should include all of our activities of body, mind, and speech. As stated in the beginning, these are the regulative principles of devotion service, enjoins that all our senses must be employed in the service of the Lord. So, exactly how they can be employed is described in 64 items. So, now again, Srila Rupa Goswami will give evidence from different scriptures supporting the authenticity of many of this point, which will be discussed in the next chapter. That is evidence regarding the devotional principles, accepting the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. So this we will discuss tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, Mataji.
Very nice. No, I enjoyed today's class.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah, I
Please
was
tell
really
us about
busy
the
and I
PPTs,
won't
that
able
how we have
to.
to start the PPTs from which chapter then?
Tomorrow we'll decide.
Yeah, actually, I was unable to decide that everything because I was very busy with my computer degree. I completed one diploma in computers and I will get a certificate on this Monday. So I had this test of 3 hours and theory test as well. So that's why I had no time to take my laptop as well and type out what to do and what not to do.
So how many are there actually? I think
Only 4, Mataji. Till now, to only 4 people are there.
we'll try to read. I think we'll try to do it in the last chapter 7.
Yes.
We are there, and tomorrow we can complete 2 more, 7 and 8.
Yes, Mataji.
7, 8. Depends on the content of the chapter, because we have, I think, around 51.
Yes.
This is 7th week, no?
Yes, Mataji.
So how many weeks are there for it to get completed? 10 more weeks.
Yes, 10 or 11.
I think 7, 8 we can complete.
If we do have 2 chapters in one day, then it may be possible.
Yes.
2 we are anyhow completing. 2 or 3 at a time we can do it.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, we'll continue because this reading I am enjoying, PPT, I don't know how it goes.
Yeah. First, once we have to read it, right? Before making the PPT. So better to read it in the class.
Yes. We will see, we'll continue. If we are falling short of time in the last, I think we
Hare Krishna Mataji, I want to ask you one thing. Like we have to do the PPT for Nectar of Devotion at Mataji, but it's like we haven't completed like still Nectar of Devotion.
I'm not asking you to prepare now.
Okay, then it's okay.
Hare
It's
Krishna.
better we can, Mataji, it's better we can make the PPT from the chapter which are done yet.
Actually, Prabhuji, we can do one thing, that we can make the PPTs of Bhagavad Gita because there are no PPTs till now.
Yes, that we can do it.
Mataji, can you send the chapter 2 questions as well?
Yes, I will send.
One was over.
Yeah, I'll send you. That would be better.
Okay, then Mataji, please share it.
NOD, I think it's easy, no? It's easy read and we can easily remember also, isn't it?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah.
Most of this one just had the principles which we need to follow and how do we need to do.
but the text is very simple.
Yeah, it's like nectar only, you know.
Ah,
As as the word, the nectar, it is like nectar only. Fine, then we'll conclude by saying the Narsimati.
yes,
May I
Mataji.
recite Mataji?
Yeah, okay.
Yes, Mataji. Just give me a minute. Yeah. Namaste Narasimhaya Praladaladaine Hiranyakashipo Vakshala Shilatankanakalaye Ito Narsimha Prarato Narsimho Yato yato yami tato narsimha Bahe narsimho hridaye narsimho Narsimham adim sharanam prapate Tava kara kamalavare Nakam adbhuta shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringa Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Vanja kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patidanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo namaha. Thank you, co-host and participant, for your active participation. See you all tomorrow at 8 p.m. Hare Krishna.
Mataji,
Hare
this time I
Krishna,
forgot
Mataji.
to do the Madhurashtakam Kirtan.
It's
Can I
okay.
do this next time?
Yeah, I think we'll try to finish off. Uh,
Not today, Mataji.
Ekadashi, no?
Actually,
Ekadashi,
yeah,
no?
Ekadashi, on Ekadashi.
Yeah, I think we can do.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Vaibhav, you can do that PowerPoint presentation on Ekadashi.
Yeah, I told him to start doing it from June because he has this board
Yeah,
exams
Mataji,
in
I'll
May.
going to start from June.
Okay, okay, fine, fine. Okay then. Hare Krishna. See you all tomorrow.